Life doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't pause for anyone. You can plan all you want, strategize, brace yourself, and still find that things happen anyway. Decisions you didn't make, moments that catch you unprepared, currents that sweep you sideways. For years, you think you have to control it all. The schedule, the outcome, the timing, the way people see you, the way you see yourself. And then you notice something quiet, almost invisible. The world doesn't need your approval. It moves, folds, unfolds, and rearranges itself regardless. You are not an author, not a director, not a judge. You are a participant. That's the first truth, and it comes slowly, almost grudgingly. I notice patterns everywhere, not the ones we label as right or wrong, productive or wasteful. The small, invisible rhythms that stitch existence together. A bird shifts its wings in a way that has nothing to do with survival. A branch bends under a weight that isn't there yet. Conversations drift and tangle, unplanned, unremarkable, yet astonishing in their collision. You start seeing the world like an intricate machine whose operator has long since left the room. The gears keep turning, the cogs grind, and you, the observer, the temporary participant, move with it. You realize the weight you've been carrying, the tension in your chest, the ledger in your mind, has been borrowed from a story that isn't yours to write. Time is not a line. It is a pulse, a rhythm, a fold that overlaps itself again and again. You wake up and sleep without ever noticing how seamlessly one carries into the other. Your actions, your thoughts, your fleeting desires arrive uninvited and leave the same way, like echoes you didn't call. You begin to see that nothing needs your intervention to exist. A wave rolls into the shore with no consultation. A cloud shifts without asking. A conversation ends without resolution. The flow is indifferent, and in that indifference there is an honesty sharper than any truth you could manufacture. You start noticing yourself inside the pattern, not as the director or the hero, not as the center of meaning, not as a problem to be solved. You notice your chest rising and falling, your fingers tapping a rhythm you didn't plan, the way your eyes linger on something insignificant but perfect in its own terms. You watch thought unfold before you can claim ownership, and in that watching, you see yourself differently. You are not the maker, not the enforcer, not the architect. You are the motion itself, a part of the pattern, a gesture in an endless composition you cannot complete, cannot stop, cannot fully understand. There is no instruction in this, no message to follow, no map, no plan, no solution. There is only noticing, leaning into the motion, watching the interweaving of cause and effect, watching how things unfold with brutal perfection regardless of your will. And in that, you find a strange clarity. It isn't relief. It isn't joy. It isn't peace. It's sharper, colder, undeniable. The world moves, you collide, you fold, and yet in that motion, there is a strange kind of intimacy. The intimacy of being a part of something bigger than your fears, bigger than your ego, bigger than the ledger you've kept for decades. I notice repetition, too, in the patterns of people, in the gestures, in the flow itself. You begin to recognize the rhythm of mistakes, the echo of decisions that will never matter, the collapse and rebuild of expectations over and over again. And you realize that all the plans, all the striving, all the tension you've carried are invisible in the grand design. They are yours alone, a small wobble in the machinery, and it doesn't care. The river doesn't pause. The current doesn't slow. The wind bends over rooftops, regardless of your longing for order. And in that realization, the absurdity becomes exquisite. Life doesn't need your justification. It just is, and so are you. You follow the motion without interference. You lean into patterns instead of fighting them. You notice how impermanent your own weight is, how temporary your thoughts are, how the self you've built with careful bricks and mortar is only ever a gesture in the flow. You catch the flicker of a reflection in a puddle, the collision of sunlight with dust, the echo of laughter in a distant hall. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is permanent. Everything is a note in an endless symphony that plays whether you notice it or not, and you notice. That is enough. And you think about the impossibility of control again, because it's impossible to stop noticing. You notice the ripple of your own attention across the world, the small disturbances, the ways your presence folds into the pattern. And yet the world doesn't break. It doesn't pause. It doesn't ask for a permission slip. It moves, and you move. And in that simple observation, in the endless acknowledgement of motion, of pattern, of impermanence, you feel the world in a way that isn't poetic, that isn't moral, that isn't comforting. It's real. It's undeniable. It's alive. You watch it all unfold, endless, relentless, intricate, absurd, beautiful, and you finally understand you are not separate. You never were. You are the pattern, the pulse, the rhythm. You are part of a flow that doesn't wait for understanding, approval, or participation. And somewhere in noticing that for however long you can hold the thought, for however long your attention can stretch, there is a clarity that surpasses all explanation. The flow doesn't wait. It never has. It never will. And you move within it. That is enough. You're not the body you move around in, not the thoughts you argue with, not the reflection in the mirror you check a dozen times a day. You are the awareness that notices it all, the quiet pulse behind the chaos, the witness of everything fleeting and absurd. Life passes through you like a storm, relentless, indifferent, and yet strangely intimate. You're the consciousness that leans into the current, that watches the rhythm, that experiences the collapse and the motion without needing a reason or a conclusion. That's the part of you that matters. That's the part that stays when the ledger falls apart, when the plans dissolve, when the noise stops. Thank you for watching. Thank you for letting your awareness linger here, for letting yourself notice what usually slips by unnoticed. You are the observer, the pulse, the pattern. You are not the body. You are not the label. You are the experience itself, fleeting, irreducible, and alive. And if that feels like nothing, that's the point. Because in the end, nothing is all there is, and yet nothing contains everything.